So we are, what, two and a half weeks out from the end of term, and already I know so many teachers are at that point where like burnout's here. I don't even know if I can make it to the end of term, especially this half term when it's so full on, so consuming, so hectic. And when you're at that point of exhaustion where whether you're in school or when you're out of school, you just don't feel really with it and present with your loved ones, your family, your own children, because just of the pure exhaustion from doing the job of teaching. There is a tendency to blame yourself for that and think this is a you problem. This video is a little reminder to say it's not a you problem. Everyone's going through this. We're all in the same boat. It just feels like that boat's like the Titanic at the minute. Because even if you are in the perfect environment in your school, teaching in itself is an exhausting job. But so many of us are doing that job on top of having to put up with so many other challenges. You know, there is something called decision fatigue, which is something so many teachers struggle from. A teacher on average will have to make over 1,500 decisions a day. And let me tell you, that is exhausting. You know this happens because you will all do exactly what I do, which is when you finally dismiss that last child from your class, you just have to have a minute or so just sat in utter silence. If you get a minute, by the way, might be like 5 seconds for some of you, where you just have to decompress and just sort of go. Today I decided to start tallying how many questions I got asked. I was thinking, how many questions do you think I'll get asked today as a teacher? I didn't make it past break because I ended up just being too busy. But even before break, we were well on to over 50, which I don't know says more about my teaching, to be honest. No, it's not that. It's not that. On top of decision fatigue, you've also got compassion fatigue, and this is the emotional exhaustion of supporting the students in your class. And obviously in the current education system in England, that is so much worse because, you know, with the conditions we're working in, the lack of funding, the lack of support, a lot of the time you feel that no matter what you're doing within your capability, it's never good enough for some of the students in your care. Then you've just got the mental fatigue of trying to keep on top of your ever-expanding, never-ending workload. All of those things tend to affect teachers who are working in a fairly supportive school. That's not even including those of you who are working in toxic schools with leaderships that don't trust you, constantly scrutinising you. You might have colleagues who are backstabbing, gossiping, chatting behind your back, all that sort of nonsense as well. So it's no surprise that you're feeling absolutely shattered and exhausted and knackered. And look, there are solutions. It doesn't have to be this way for everybody. Unfortunately, there are certain aspects I just don't think we can escape from because teaching brings with it a certain level of exhaustion. But we seem sort of hell-bent as a profession at the minute just to make that as bad and as severe as possible when it just doesn't need to be. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this isn't a you problem. This is what it's like teaching England at the minute. And despite all of those things, it can still be an incredibly rewarding job. And for most of you, you will not realise the true impact you have day in, day out in the classroom. But that doesn't take away from the fact that if you are feeling absolutely exhausted, there's a reason for it. And that is teaching.